Hello and welcome back to Let's Talk About Things. Today I'm going to be talking about my team for the upcoming Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu game. So recently I was sitting around and I think it was actually like 2 days ago. I was sitting around and I was pondering what my next team would be. For those of you who don't know, I am a huge Pokemon fan. It is by far the largest fandom I'm a part of. It's my thing, right? I know I love Nintendo, I love Smash, I love stuff like Transformers, where's Bruticus? There's Bruticus. I love Donkey Kong, I love a lot of stuff from Nintendo, and from other things as well. Pokemon is my number one. If I had to just play one thing for the rest of my life, it would be Pokemon. So, of course, I like replaying these games, and a big part of my joy, because I don't play competitively, I don't do any of that stuff, I just play casually, and I love going through Pokemon with new teams and teams of mixed Pokemon and Pokemon I've never used before. I love doing that. I love collecting in general, and of course collecting in Pokemon. And I actually want to be able to have said that I have used every single Pokemon that exists, at least once on a team. So I thought, okay, I always plan out my teams beforehand, usually at least a rough planning. Usually they change a little bit when I'm actually playing for the game, but I do plan them. And with my latest, or not my latest, but with the team I used in Pokemon Sun and Moon for the first time, which I'll have pictures of them here, I adored that team, and that team was roughly planned out before I played the game. Since then, I haven't been able to put together a team that I have loved so much, and definitely not any other teams within Lola, unfortunately. I figured, alright, it's time to do this, let's go. I've been trying to, since the game was announced, or even before when we had rumors of a Gen 1 game being the new game, I've been kind of trying to plot out who I would use. Because I've made plenty of trips to Kanto in my time playing the series, and there's still quite a few Pokemon I haven't used, quite frankly. So, here are the members of this upcoming team, and my reasonings for them. So first off, of course, we have Pikachu, because I am going to be playing Let's Go Pikachu, and I'm going to be using Pikachu. It's just going to happen. And Pikachu is going to be named Orchid, because I want to give this team a naming theme of plants and flowers and trees. Mostly flowers, but, you know, trees and bushes and other kinds of plants every now and then if I need something that fits a little bit better, because I need to slip away. But yes, Orchid. Orchids can be yellow. I thought the name was nice. I was gonna name it Butterscotch before, but you know that kind of fell through because that's not a plant. It's a candy, and I already kind of did that. So Orchid, the Pikachu it is. And Orchid kind of messed up my usual parameters. So usually when I make a team, I go with a fire, water, and grass basis, and then add in a flyer as well. However, some of you might know, first off, that Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu will have TMs not be present. So I don't need a flying Pokemon. And I've already used Pidgeot and Dodrio and Fearow, so that's probably a good thing that I don't need a new flying type, because I don't think I have one, because I'm not using legendary birds. So that's a good thing. And then usually I'll have Fire, Water, Grass, or Fire, Water, Electric. I usually don't have both a grass type and an electric type on my team. I tried that on X and Y, and I wind up benching my my Go-Go in favor of a Raichu, and it's just how it turns out. But this time I'm not sticking by that, and I have a grass type as well, Hemlock, the Executor. And I've always wanted to use Executor. Originally, Hemlock was supposed to be a Vileplume, and that's what I really wanted to do, because I have a Victory Bell that I used a long time ago, and I named him Olimar, and I wanted to use a Vileplume named Louie in this one, but that didn't work out. I had Vileplume on a previous build of this team, and there was just too many weaknesses and stuff, so I switched it up, and I brought in Hemlock, the Executor, which is great, because I've always wanted to use an Executor. I think it's an interesting Pokemon. Unfortunately, it's not a Alolan Executor, because that thing's magnificent, but I really did need the Psychic type for the team, so I love it, I cannot wait, and I love the name Hemlock, too. It's a pretty cool name, in my opinion. And then another Pokemon that this one's kind of a Pokemon I already used, but also kind of not, because I used the red Gyarados in my most recent playthrough of Pokemon Silver on the Virtual Console, and I basically just used that for shits and giggles because I couldn't get a good team going in that game. I also ended up using like Lugia, so I just kind of did it for fun. But I never really used one in a more modern game because there's a lot more moves and stuff available nowadays than there were back in Gen 2, and I kind of feel like relegating Gyarados to a single use would have been a bit of, you know, unfairness to it because there's a lot of moves that, very interesting moves that Gyarados can learn. So Gyarados is going to be on this team. My Gyarados' name will be Lotus because, of course, a lotus is an aquatic plant. And Gyarados is also going to be my Mega. Originally, I didn't even think about this, but Gyarados' normal form is Water Flying. Gyarados' Mega is Water Dark. So it came to a point where I wanted to have a Pokemon that I'll mention later on the team, but to add that, I would be negating a huge portion of weaknesses I had. So, surprisingly enough, a Dark type would fit, because I think it was like a weakness to Psychic and Ghost that I had, and I needed to fulfill those. Just so happens Mega Gyarados is a Dark type and handles both of those. So that was really lucky. I didn't have that planned out. It just kind of fell in there, and I don't know when Mega Gyarados will be available within Let's Go. I don't even know if it's gonna be in Let's Go at this exact moment. I know that some Megas have been announced. I don't know if Gyarados is one of them, but I'm assuming it'll be there, and I'm gonna use one because I've never used Mega Gyarados either. So that's gonna be a lot of fun. Then a Pokemon that's gonna give me a little bit of trouble because I chose Let's Go Pikachu, not Let's Go Eevee. But this next Pokemon is exclusive to Let's Go Eevee, and that is Azalea the Ninetales. And I have used the Ninetales way back when I was a little kid, before X and Y had released, which was like my first real venture into Pokemon as like a modern day video game fan. It's not just a little kid playing it, but as like someone who was a fan of the series and actually cared about typings and looking into that kind of stuff. X and Y was my first one. So Azalea fits the team well. I needed a fire type, but the reason I chose to use her is because my only three options here are Ninetales, Arcanine, and Rapidash. I've used Rapidash before in a previous playthrough of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. Forest Fire on my Rapidash, and I actually really liked it, but I don't want to use one again because I've already done that. I've used Arcanine 3 or 4 times. I used an Arcanine in Black and White 2, I used an Arcanine in Sun and Moon, and I think I used an Arcanine in Johto at some point. I used another one somewhere, I don't remember exactly where, but I did use another Arcanine. So I've used Arcanine 3 times, so I didn't want to reuse Arcanine again. So I went with Ninetales, because I had used Ninetales once, a long time ago. I don't remember using it. It wasn't a playthrough that sticks out to me, so I want to reuse Ninetales. And like I said, that's exclusive to Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, which I'm not getting. So hopefully I can either figure out a way to trade over a Vulpix for a Growlithe, or I can get one traded over from Pokemon Go. Hopefully either one of those two things is an option, because I don't actually think they're opening up. They're going to allow you to bring past Pokemon into Let's Go, because they said that's going to be a thing they're focusing on for Generation 8. So I don't think they'll do that here. There won't be any Pokebank for Let's Go Pikachu. So, I don't know. Azalea might turn into an Arcanine again, but hopefully that doesn't have to happen. And then we have the Pokemon I was talking about when I talked about Lotus, and that is Valerian the Clefable. And I've wanted to use the Clefable since Oras came out, because I used Wigglytuff in Oras, and I loved using Wigglytuff. My Wigglytuff's name was Dovapuff, because it was a fairy type, and, you know, the Dragonborn, the Dragon Slayer, Dovahkiin from Skyrim, so I named her Dovapuff, and Valerian is kind of the pairing for Dovapuff. I wanted to use one for a very long time. I love Clefable. I loved Chica Conroy's Clefable in his Platinum playthrough, and I've been trying to fit a Clefable into one of my teams for a very, very long time, and just have never gotten it to work. So now, Clefable finally fits, because I stuck through it, and Mega Gyarados showed up. So now it works, and I want to talk about the name Valerian a little bit, because Valerian is a kind of plant, I believe, and originally I wanted to name Clefable after a pink flower, but none of the names I found really fit. I went with a Stilby for a while, but I wasn't feeling it. And then I went, okay, well, Clefable is like a fable, right? It's a fairy. It's a storybook. It's fantasy. So let's go after a fantasy plant. Nothing. There was nothing that I could use as a name. So I was a little stuck. And then I saw the name Valerian. Valerian is something from fantasy. The plant itself isn't, but any of my Game of Thrones fans, Valerian steel is what they make out of... it's like the steel that can harm the White Walkers. So Valerian kind of works for fantasy because of the Valerian steel from Game of Thrones. So there you go, Valerian the Clefable. I know it's a weird connection, so it's kind of named after Valerian steel as well as a flower, but it worked out. And I'm happy with the name, so Valerian, there you go. And then lastly, another Pokemon that kind of just came in because I needed something to fight electric types, because it was another one of those weaknesses you gotta plug up. And this is something I've noticed over the years, electric needs another disadvantage. It needs something else that is strong against it, because if you have a team, and most people have a team that has something weak to electricity, because water types are a team member that's usually on your team, and there's also flying types. So if you're trying to fill in those gaps, you always need a ground type. And I love ground types, nothing against them, but they're the only type that can damage electric types for super effective damage. And that's real annoying. So I really wish, something like rock or steel or anything else had a super effective attack against electricity, but unfortunately that's not how it works. So I have a ground type, which also was fine because I needed a poison type fairy, and it's Nidoqueen. And I have used Nidoking. I used it in my first playthrough of Pokemon Yellow, surprisingly enough, and that was back in when it was released on Virtual Console. So I used a Nidoking named Xander after Xander from Fire Emblem in that playthrough, and now I'm using a Nidoqueen named Amaryllis in this one, and Amaryllis is of course another flower that, if consumed, is poisonous. So that's where the name came from, and I'm excited to use Nidoqueen. I haven't used one before. I did use Nidoking, so I'm assuming it'll be a little similar, but I like Nidoking a lot. Never got to use Nidoqueen, so here we go. And that is my Team 6. I don't know what this video was, aside from me rambling about 6 Pokemon I chose, but I don't know, I thought it'd be an interesting thing to talk about, because I like Pokemon, and I don't talk about Pokemon nearly as much as you would think I would on this channel, so maybe I should make more Pokemon videos. Either way, guys, let me know, what is your team that you're going to be bringing into Let's Go Pikachu or Let's Go Eevee? Which one are you getting? What's your team? All that fun stuff. Or, I don't know, if you aren't getting those, let me know a team that you would like to use in a different game. And tell me what game. Sun and Moon, X and Y, Black and White, Ruby and Sapphire, I don't care, whichever one. Remember to like, comment, favorite, subscribe, share this video for friends if they want to watch a grown-ass man talk about Pokemon for 13 minutes or however long this video is. See you guys next time.